Hi everyone, how are we doing? I said I wasn't going to do a call this week, but I am doing calls today anyway, and I just thought that I got a really great request in the form and I really wanted to speak on it, so I just thought I'd jump on and do one anyway. I still sound a little bit sick, which you can probably tell, so this may not be my best call, but I thought let's just do it anyway because I have left you guys hanging for a while. And I didn't really want to leave you guys hanging for too much longer. So I'm going to bring up our comments just so I can see what's coming up with people. But yeah, we're going to talk about writing today. So let me know if you're here live or if you're catching the replay. But I got this question around like, how do you write when you feel really exhausted and drained from a day job? And I thought this was a really great question. Because this is definitely something that I think every writer struggles with, and it's something that I've had to work around over the years as well. So I do have some tips for you. I have some that are more practical and some that are more like energetic / spiritual, but hopefully you get something good out of this. I want to start off by saying that I think it's totally normal to feel drained when you come home from a day job. Like, I really want to put this in perspective for you guys as well. Like, as authors, you guys have so many roles to play, and it's kind of ridiculous when you really think about it. So, like, you're not just writing books, which, keep in mind, not everyone can write a book. Like, that alone is a process. Like, that's a whole thing. And a lot of people say, oh yeah, I want to write a book, but then they sit down and they try and do it, and they realize this is a lot of work. I have to be alone with my thoughts. I have to think things out. I have to stop rambling. Like, there's so many things that come up in the writing process that make it difficult for people. So, one, the fact that you write at all, in general, even if you've never finished a book, that's a huge accomplishment. On top of doing that outside of a day job, where you have additional roles and responsibilities and things that you have to take care of, and you have to give your time and energy to that thing every day. And it's like an 8-hour shift, or like at least, right? Like you're there all day. You have to get yourself there and back. You have to have the mental capacity to deal with it every day and to deal with people every day and to take care of yourself every day. And then outside of that, you have to take care of yourself at home. Like, you have to, create food and eat it. And then you have to take care of your kids if you have kids. And like, there's so much to consider in a day outside of the writing time. Like, it's a miracle anyone writes at all, right? But then it's not just the writing. Like, you guys also have to oversee a publishing strategy for your book and implement that over time. And you have to market your books, and you do publicity for your books, and you do graphic design to, get your books out. Sorry. My throat's still a bit weird, But yeah, like, you're branding yourself, and you're doing the graphic design for your marketing, and like, there's tech stuff you have to figure out. Like, there's so much to figure out as an author. There's so much going on all of the freaking time. So it's no wonder you feel drained when you come home from a real proper job that has a need for you and you get paid for. And then you come home and essentially do 8 other full-time jobs for free. Like, that's essentially what you're doing. People out there get paid a full-time salary to be marketing people, or to be graphic designers, or to be in project management roles, such as the publishing process, right? And then you're coming home and doing all of that for free. All of it, like all the roles, all at once. That's kind of crazy. Like, just let that sink in for a minute. So if you're getting frustrated that you're coming home and you're feeling drained all the time, and you're feeling demotivated all the time, and you can't seem to put progress down on your book, and it's feeling really difficult, this is your permission slip to let that be okay, because you're kind of doing this incredible thing that not a lot of people have the perspective to really realize that you can do. Like, you're a freaking badass to be able to do that, right? So I just want to give you that first and foremost and let that sink in, right? Ultimately, it is possible though. Like, people out there do it every day. Like, there are people out there, not only yes, there are people out there who write books every day and do that on the side. So it's possible, it's done. There are also people out there who have a side hustle and work their ass off to do that outside of their job. So I just share all that as proof that like you can do anything you put your mind to. There are people out there doing these big, amazing things that are putting more time and energy than required for their bare minimum living expenses and survival to take themselves places. And if you're willing to commit to that, it's absolutely possible, right? So the biggest thing I see with people feeling drained and exhausted after a day job is like, first of all, while it's valid, it is just a feeling, okay? And what I want you to really be clear on is the difference between when it's a feeling versus when you are overgiving from an empty cup, okay? Because that's going to help you figure out where we make changes, right? So if you are just feeling demotivated and a bit tired because you have been going for 8 hours and you haven't yet taken a break, right? And then it's kind of feeling overwhelming because there's still stuff on your to-do list, like you still got to get dinner done, you still got to take a shower and do all this stuff. What I would suggest is doing something that will help you shift the feelings that you were feeling. Because feelings are just energy, and energy can always be shifted. So something that you can do is figure out what is the root cause of how I'm feeling right now. Like do a check-in. How do I feel? Why do I feel this way? What do I need right now to feel that need, right? So like if you're feeling a bit tired, maybe you can do like a quick nap. Like I know a lot of people don't like to nap close to bedtime, but I nap all the time. Like I will do like a, maybe a half hour long nap, because like I'm not doing it to then go to bed an hour later. I'm doing it so I have the energy to pour into a project before bed, right? Like I do it so I can sit down and write for 2 hours and then I feel drained again and I go to bed, right? Like you can do it with purpose. If that's what you need. It could just be that maybe you need some food and then you're going to feel a bit better. Could be that you need to take a shower to kind of detach your mind from your day and kind of like get into a different headspace, or you could go for a run, you could go to the gym. Like there's lots of things you can do that can shift your feelings first and foremost, if that happens to be the root cause. And the thing about writing is that if you think about it, you started writing not because you were like, I'm going to go be an author. You started writing because you were like, I have a story that I really want to write, that is lighting me up, that feels fun, that I want to share, that I want to explore. And you did it because you want to, because you find passion and enjoyment in it, right? So when you sit down to write, you're really looking for that feeling of, I want to be here. Like this is a form of fun for me. This is a form of relaxation for me, of escapism for me, right? Like it shouldn't feel like a chore. It can still be a job. It can still be a requirement, and like you can still have a deadline and intend to make money from the book and whatnot. But when you sit down to do it, it should be this feeling of flow attached to it, like you want to be here, right? Like you want to. It's going to feel fun, like you're excited. It can still, like, the actual sitting down part and getting yourself there, especially when you're grappling with your brain, you're feeling like, oh, I've just had like the longest day. That's going to be the hardest part. Once you sit down and you kind of get started and you go over your notes once, it should click. That flow feeling should begin, and it'll start to feel easier. That's how you know you're there and you're not overgiving from an empty cup. It's like you have time that you want to spend before you go to bed. People choose to spend their time in all different ways, especially when it comes to things that are going to help them relax or have fun or whatever. This is one of those things that you can be doing as that kind of activity, because some people choose to watch a TV show. And I mean, you can do that too some days of the week if you want to alternate and give yourself a bit of balance there. But like, you can choose to watch Netflix, you can choose to listen to music, you can choose to socialize with people, you can choose to go do something with your Friday night, or you can choose to write your book. And the thing that I always felt in high school is like, I didn't come home from a day of school. I know this isn't quite as grueling as a day job, but like, I didn't come home from school and think to myself, oh, I'd totally rather be out with friends socializing. Like if there was something going on, sure, I would go to that thing, I would want to be there. But more often than not, it was like, I just want to be home writing my book. Like that is what I want to do. That is what I desire to be doing. This is the thing I would rather like actively choose, right? So it should be this feeling of like you're actively choosing to be there. You actively want to be there. And if you're having trouble getting to that feeling, but you know that you've kind of taken care of whatever initial feeling was holding you back, it could even just be that you need to rekindle your excitement for the idea and for the book itself. It could be that you need to spend time aligning your energy with it first. So I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second. But before we move on to that point, I want to talk about the opposite side of the coin, which is when you're overgiving from an empty cup. So you'll notice, because you'll sit down and you'll be like, I can't even think. My brain is mush. it is not working. I cannot string words and sentences together. I do not know what's going on right now. If that is where you're operating from when you sit down and you try to put words down, like that's different. That's going to be a totally different energy. That means you've already given way too much in your day, like to your job, to people around you and whatnot. If that's happening every day and it's making it really impossible to write, because like this could happen once, it's happened like one time out of the 5 days you write every week, and it'd be like, oh, this was just not the right day for writing. Giving myself permission slip to go straight to bed, right? Like that's fine. If it's happening every day, it's a sign that something needs to shift in your schedule to be able to prioritize writing. Because we have to remember, like, writing doesn't just happen. It's a choice. Anything that you're working towards, you could be working towards a side hustle and it would still need to be a choice for you to sit down every day and create marketing content and create emails and get clients every day in those 2 hours you have after a job. Like, it doesn't change depending on, like, the work requirement doesn't change regardless of what niche you're trying to sit down and grow yourself in, right? Like, it's still a requirement for everyone who's sitting down in the world trying to do that. So you trying to pursue authorship as a career, as a thing you want to do, it's still going to have this level of required dedication for you to sit down and choose to do it, right? So if you are finding that you cannot sit down and make that choice every day, and that it's just not possible with your current resources being like your time and energy, something needs to shift in your schedule to be able to prioritize it so that you can make the choice every day. And it's not always easy, but sometimes it's required. So it could be that if you simply do not have the energy in the evenings, maybe you need to try on a lunch break or earlier in the day before you go to work. And the trade-off could be like, you're just going to have to sacrifice a bit of eating time, or you're going to have to sacrifice a bit of sleep time in the morning. And it doesn't have to be forever. It can just be for like until you get to a better situation with your schedule, right? There was a time in the past 5 years when I was growing my business that I had heaps of book deadlines and I was working a part-time job 20 hours a week. And I just did not have the energy in the evenings after working in my business for 4 hours and then working in another job for 5 hours, because that's like, I don't know, like 9 hours every day. And then there's a commute with that too. There was just not enough energy in me at the end of most days to be writing the books, but I still had to do it. I was still contractually obligated by my publisher to get these books done. So I just had to get up earlier in the day and do it before I started my business task. Like, it was the only way for me to have the brain power to be able to do that. And I didn't hate it once I started to get into a groove of it. It was just like, this is not my preferred time, but this is the way I'm going to make this work right now. And that was a choice that I made, right? And like, it didn't necessarily mean that my performance suffered in the other jobs. It just meant that like, because I needed more brain power in the morning, I prioritized that. And then towards the evening, I took on easier jobs, right? Or I made sure that in my business, I was very organized, right? There's things you can be doing to really make sure that each area that needs, each area that you're committing yourself to in your life, where there's a responsibility or something that needs to get done, it's getting the best of you. It's getting the best of your energy and your time and your commitment, right? And that, like, if there are easier things you can be doing, you're able to do them after you've had to do harder things in the day, right? So it could just be like a matter of like reshuffling your schedule and your priorities and figuring out where things can work. It could be that you decide, I'm going to do it on weekends instead, and you really make the commitment to give yourself 2 to 3 hours on a Saturday before you take the rest of the weekend off and relax, right? Like, sometimes that's a requirement. It could be that if you have kids, I know kids can be challenging because they can want to come in and interrupt, and they can want to spend time with you and do things, and there's things that they need. Like, and I'm not saying ignore your kids, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, set some boundaries with your family. Set the expectation that, like, I'm going to need 3 hours a week to just do book stuff. That's all I'm asking. It's really not a lot in the big scheme of the week. And it could just be like, for 3 hours, can someone take them to the park, or can someone look after them? Can I pay someone? Is that a trade-off I'm willing to make happen? Is there something they can be doing? Can I do this while they're taking a nap, or while they're at school? Or can I entertain them with an iPad or something? Like, what is something that can happen here so that I can be doing the most with my books, right? So like, those are the first two things I wanted to talk about, was like the trade-off between like just feeling a certain way and being able to shift that energy versus not actually having the energy at all. So that's the first thing. Let me know if that was helpful. The second thing I want to talk about kind of comes down to, like I said before, around aligning your energy to be excited to write. Like, so if you're, like I said, if you're sitting down and you're kind of like, I just do not, like, it's a struggle. I feel like I'm forcing the words. I feel like I'm sitting here and I'm really trying to get these characters down. Like I said, it should flow. You should want to be there. Like, regardless, if you shift the feelings and you're coming at it from a good place, you should want to put time and energy into writing the books. So this is something that I do. This is just my process, right? I never get an idea for a book and I'm like, I'm just going to immediately sit down and start writing this, because that never really works for me. I kind of have a manifesting process for my book, which sounds whack. I have a podcast episode that's going to come out on it later in the year. But I want to talk about what my manifesting process for my book is. And it's relevant because I'm going to share how to align your energy to be able to do a creative project, right? So if you're not familiar with manifestation, I recommend you kind of read up on it, Google it, learn about it. It's a bit of an out there concept if you haven't encountered it before. But basically it's like this idea that you can call things into reality with your energy and with spirit, you co-create with the universe, right? So I do believe in this because I've done it a few times on accident. But I feel like I've actually been doing this with my books unintentionally for a really long time before I realized what it was that I was doing. So the reason I know about manifestation and have practiced it is because I've been really focused on doing it with money. And I took a course, I think it was last year, from Amanda Francis, who is really good at this stuff. And it was called Money Mentality Makeover. And in it, she taught you the proper process for manifesting. And very loosely, it's something along the lines of decide, align your energy, and then take inspired action. There's more steps to it than that, but that's the very brief, broad overview of it, right? So what I realized I was doing with my books is I'd get a book idea and I'd decide, I'd commit to doing that book. I'd be I'm going to write this. So decision was made. It wasn't a fleeting idea and I was that's an interesting idea. Maybe I'll write it someday, and it goes to the back of my head. It's no, I'm going to write that book. I want to write this. This is a good idea. And then I start to develop it. So if you have tried manifesting before, then you'll know that some techniques you can use are visualization, scripting. And so to properly explain what these are, visualization is when you're trying to call in a scenario, a real thing that you want to happen. So let's say you're trying to manifest that you receive $5,000, right? So you might visualize in your head over and over $5,000 clearly in your bank account, or being handed a check for $5,000. There's some kind of visualization going on that helps you to be in the energy of it happening and feel reprogram your brain to believe that this is a happening thing. It's real. It's present in your reality, right? So I kind of do this with my books, where I visualize scenes from my books over and over until they're clear, until they're solid, in my being. And I'm okay, I have my idea, I have my scene, I can go out and write this. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know exactly how my characters are going to feel. I'm really in there with them. I know what the dialogue's going to be. I have it all in my head, or I have it scripted out somewhere in my phone. I do a lot of this stuff to bring my stories into reality, piece by piece, scene by scene, chapter by chapter. And I do that for a couple of months before I actually start writing the book. And so, another things you could outline the book, you could do all this stuff, but I do it this way to kind of really be in the story with my characters and really get my energy there. Because what I'm doing is I'm not just writing down an idea and going, okay, I'm going to write that someday. I'm aligning myself with my story idea on an energetic, vibrational level. So when I talk about vibration and I talk about energy and all of that, the idea of manifesting is that you have to be an energetic match for something. So if you are trying to call in money and you're doing all your exercises and whatnot, it's not going to happen if you are operating from an energy and a feeling of scarcity, because money is a higher vibration energy, right? So it's abundance, right? So if you have to operate from abundance. You have to feel abundant before you can call that thing in. So if you are feeling scarce, if you're oh my God, I have so many bills to pay, I'm so stressed out, I'm so scared all the time, worry about money all the time, feel I can't get enough money all the time, you're not going to suddenly be I'm so wealthy and rich, I can call in anything I want, I can afford anything I want. That's a totally different energy to be living in, right? and to be feeling on a daily basis. You have to be able to switch that vibration and get into that new vibration and feeling and energy. That's why it's like a whole skill set you have to learn. It's like a whole process. It's why I took a course on it, because I used to live in scarcity every day of my life, and I was able to slowly switch into this new vibration. So you kind of do it with your book, right? Where you're living your life, but like what I do is I shift my energy to align with my story idea and the kind of vibration that my story is operating at. So if it's a dark, gritty story, I will get myself into a dark, gritty vibration. If it's a contemporary and it's very happy and, you know, like fun and cute, I will get myself in that vibration. I will get my energy, my thoughts and feelings to align with that until I myself feel like a happy, giddy person, or I myself feel like I'm going through a grunge phase, right? I will align myself with the energy so I'm there and I'm really with it, and I really get my story, and I kind of feel like I can channel it when I start writing it, you know? Because that's the difference. It's like, for me to be lit up and excited about what I'm writing about, I have to really be in that energy with it, you know? Like, otherwise it's just like an idea that I put on paper once and forgot about, which is not the same thing. I hope this is making sense. So if you are trying to align excitement with your story idea, I would encourage you to not necessarily manifest your book, though you can try it if you want. Like I said, like I have a podcast that goes into more detail, but essentially you decide, you align your energy over time. When it clicks, when it hits, and it's like, I have it, you sit down and you take inspired action and you write it, and that's how I do it, right? But if you don't want to necessarily manifest your book, you just want to kind of get excited for your story idea again, this is something you can do, is spend time with your story idea so you are excited about it. Like, it's hard to be excited about something if you never let yourself go there, if you never let yourself think about it. Spend time developing your ideas. Spend time aligning the music that you listen to with your scenes, like the way you want to feel in each scene, and like visualize that stuff. If you want to create mood boards, go and do that. If you want to, you know, like write out character profiles, do that. Do things that are going to make you excited and curious about your book again, and want to explore it again, and want to write it again. Sometimes that can just be as simple as reading a book and remembering how much fun it is to have a story idea unfold, and then want to go and do that for yourself. Everyone is different, so this is going to look different for everyone. But those are all things you can do. Those are all like tangible exercises that you can do. You have to be willing to find the time to dedicate to those things. But this is why I will spend months doing that before I write a single word, because I'm spending that time that I would usually dedicate to writing to getting myself into a place where I can write from flow, as opposed to me feeling like every day I'm sitting down trying to force the words, feeling like I'm not quite clear on what I'm trying to write, right? And then of course, on top of that, you can also just make sure you're clear on the idea. Like, this is one of the big things, is that people try to go into their books when they have a bare bones concept. And you can be a pantser and go in with without knowing your whole book, but the difference is that you're clear on what you're trying to accomplish with it, right? If all you have is like, I know what my character is going to do, and I know like one scene that's going to unfold, it's very hard to sit down and go, where should I start? What's going to happen first? How do I set this scene up? How do I kind of get the events to start unfolding? How do I get to that first scene? How do I, like, who's involved, right? There are stuff that's going to reveal itself along the way, but you still need to be clear enough that you can get started, right? So a lot of people go into it when they're not yet clear enough on the things they need to be able to write properly. And this is especially true if you're not a pantser and you do need a bit more detail first. If you need to know at least a certain amount of characters and what their roles and goals are going to be, and at least 3 or 5 scenes that you know are eventually going to come into play, and potential pathways to connect them together. If you do not have clarity on these things, I really encourage you to get clarity, because that's going to help you feel confident and like you know what you're doing. It's going to help you minimize time procrastinating when you sit down to write and feeling like you're forcing it because you're like just trying to find the direction for it. If you know the direction for it, it's going to feel a lot easier to be like, all right, I have this great scene, I can't wait to write it, it's going to like fold, it's going to flow, it's going to all unfold for me, and I know exactly what it's going to look like, and I'm going to sit down and do it. And if it changes direction as I go, that's fine. If it goes somewhere else, it's fine. Maybe there's some things I need to figure out as I go, that's fine. But at least I know what I'm trying to accomplish in this hour, right? Like, that's important. So I'm actually going to drop a document for you, not a document, a resource. If you do not know how to get clarity on your book, I recommend downloading this free worksheet that I have. I'm going to drop it so you guys have it. Like I said, it's completely free. And I just think that it makes a big difference. This is what I do with clients, by the way. Like, this is something we'll do in the beginning to really get clear on books. So, like, there's 3 things you're going to learn in here. I take you through, like, 3 different things to gain clarity on your book, create an actionable writing plan, and actually start your first scene. You're going to be able to do all of that with this guide. So I definitely recommend downloading that if you haven't already and checking that out. That's going to be really helpful for you. And the final thing I will say that can help with this kind of stuff as well is I don't focus on word count goals, right? Like, I was actually talking about this in a previous call I just had in my membership about how creatives don't really measure progress and productivity the same way as you may have been taught in the corporate world. Like, in the corporate world, they're like, if you don't do this amount of work per day or complete this many projects or put this many hours in, you're not doing enough, right? And so it's really easy to get into this mindset of I need tangible things to measure, like a word count goal. And if I don't hit 800 words a day, I'm a failure. Or if I don't get this many chapters done, I'm a failure, right? What I just explained to you is that as creatives, we need a lot of creative space to be creative, to pour our creative energy into something and to align our creative energy with something and to feel inspired and feel motivated to do things. That's what makes us creative. So putting measurements on things actually can hinder our process and our progress a lot. So instead of measuring word count goals, I just measured that I showed up, right? And that I did something. And it doesn't even have to be that I put words down on paper. It can just be, I got clear on a scene today. I know how I'm going to write it tomorrow. That's huge, as opposed to me trying to sit down and write that scene without being clear on it and then having to go back and rewrite it 5 times because I did it wrong or I found the wrong direction or I wasn't clear, right? Like, just because society says you're only productive if you write a scene, that's not necessarily progress, especially if you have to go back and rewrite it 5 times and you waste a whole week on a scene. It's like, I would rather spend one day getting clear on a scene and then writing it the next day and having it be perfect and done and know that that's the scene the way I need it to be, and then moving on, right? Like, I'm going to get way more done with my week. So productivity and progress, like, if you're measuring it, like, word count goals can be helpful. If you find that to be helpful for you, then absolutely do it. But I personally don't work that way. I personally do not care how many words I get done per day. I might notice it if I get a lot of words done. I might go, wow, that was a lot of words. But I rarely notice when how many words I've written. It is pretty average for me to get 4,000 words done a day just because I'm in flow and I'm not really paying attention to that stuff. I'm just like, I'm getting scenes done. Like, I don't care how many words I write. I just care that I write, right? It's very easy for me to have a 10K word day because I'm not focusing on how many words can I get done. Like, I'm just focusing on the scene and making sure that I'm in flow energy the whole time I'm writing, because that's how you're going to get to those 4K word days and those 10K word days. And that's how you're going to make progress more effectively and from an easier, better place, that place that feels good, right? So I would encourage you, if you're struggling and then you're especially feeling like you're not being productive enough because you're so obsessed over the word count goals or the chapter goals and you're like, I just didn't get enough done today, I've only got this much done today, I encourage you to ditch it for a week. Don't pay attention to it. Just have your measurement be, you showed up, you put words down, you got a page done, you got 5 pages done, you got 20 pages done. Who cares? As long as you get stuff done, that's the most important thing. And like, even if you didn't get anything done, even if you just said, I got clear on my chapter today, I've been struggling this for 5 days and it finally clicked today, that's a win. Measure that as part of it, right? And that's my final tip, because I just think that this is something that holds a lot of creatives back, and it's a very easy fix. It's just don't do it anymore, like do it differently. So that is basically it. That is basically all I had for you. Let me know if this was helpful. I don't really have anything else to say other than if you need help with like writing stuff, I do have things I offer. I have a writing course and it's currently on sale with a bundle that's going to go through till the end of May. So if you're watching this in the next 3 to 4 days, you have not missed this. Like, I'll just drop it because it'll be easier. But basically what I've done is I've bundled up 3 of my courses at the moment. So I have a writing course and it teaches you how to write a book in 90 days or less. And it also teaches you lots of craft stuff that I've picked up over the years. And it teaches you my signature process for getting words down on paper. So if you found this helpful, you will find that course helpful. I've also got my launch course in it that teaches you my signature publishing and launch process that has helped clients to do things such as releasing best-selling novels, tripling their income, getting sold out in bookstores, all this fun stuff. So like that is the way that I teach launching, and that's in there as well. And there's also a course that is brand new. It is the Bestseller Energy course that I've just started talking to people about. It is all about embodiment and positioning for authors. And what that means is that you're going to feel and be able to self-identify like an author. If you don't yet feel like a real author, if you don't yet feel like you're meeting your big picture vision, if you feel like you have more to accomplish and you're not quite operating there yet, you're holding yourself back. It talks about branding and leadership, talks about position yourself so that other people see you as a real author and they take you seriously. It talks about how to charge what you want for your books instead of feeling like you have to undercharge and feeling like people will never pay you full price and they'll never see you as someone who can get paid to write. It talks about all this stuff. So that's a really great course as well. It's going to help you to kind of step up your authorship game and really take it seriously as a brand. So these are 3 courses that I've bundled together for a limited time, which means you can get all 3 of them and master these 3 areas of authorship for a special one-time price. So I will drop that in case you are interested in grabbing that, especially if you want help with the writing stuff. So let me just put the course bundle in the comments. And the other thing I'll say is that I have 1 spot available at the moment for a writing coaching, 3-month writing coaching package. So if you are struggling with your book and you would like to get some help going through your book, this is something I'm working with 2 other clients with at the moment. So just to like share kind of what we've been doing, basically they give me the whole book. I go through the whole book. I give you chapter by chapter feedback, and depending how the feedback, like what kind of feedback I'm giving and what it requires to be given, I'll either do it in a feedback log or I'll do video trainings to help you work through the book, just depending how much work it needs. But basically you get this, so it's basically like an entire high quality professional critique of your entire book that's going to help you to polish it, to bring it up to bestseller standard, to be able to move forward with editing with it and know and feel that your book is ready for the next steps and that it's polished and that it's had expert eyes on it and that it's really the best it can be. If you want to feel that way about your book, this is what that will help you do. And we also do Voxer and coaching calls so you can work through stuff like if you're still learning aspects of writing, we can have lots of conversations about here's how you do that, here's how you can execute that better, to help you grow as a writer as well. So that I have 1 spot left for that at the moment, probably until the rest of the year, to be completely honest, because I don't take on many spots for this one at a time, and it's only a 3-month package. So if you are interested in getting some details about that, I will put the sales page for that down as well. You do have to apply because I'm very picky about this one. I will only accept it if I personally think I'm going to enjoy your book, just because I know that I don't give my best feedback if I'm not personally enjoying and seeing ways to help you with your book. So I need to know what your book is about first. And I will never take you on as a client if I don't think I can give you 110% of my effort. And so there is an application process for that reason. Please don't be afraid of it. I'm not going to say you must sign up for it. I just apply. And if it's not for me, I will say no. And if it is for me, then we can go ahead with it. So just to let you know how that works as well. But I generally do like 90% of the books that come to me from clients, and so I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's just that I just want to be really honest about, taking on clients that I really think I can help. So that is that. The link to that, I didn't label it, but it's in there as well. It's the second link, so feel free to check that out. Apart from that, that's all I have for today's training. So I hope you found this helpful. Let me know if you did, and I will see you guys next week for our next free coaching call.